Hello and welcome back to Real Footage, the web video series with Tim Davis inside Studio 8 at Tim D Productions from the Tim D TV Network, available here on YouTube and Facebook. Show number 208 is all about television memorabilia, and we're going to be sharing some very fun items with you this time, being that as the classic TV fans that we are. We begin with this mask of Herman Munster, which symbolizes that of the popular 1960s television sitcom, The Munsters, which aired for 2 seasons, back-to-back alongside The Addams Family, which was also popular at that time on another network. We present this mask to you being that we, at one time, featured a photo on my Facebook page sometime back of the Munsters television show, which featured yours truly wearing this mask, along with a suit jacket and shoulder pads. But there's some behind-the-scenes info that you should know about that photo. Now, being that the photo was taken wearing a mask, it still had to come out in a certain way that we wanted it to. After a few takes and lighting problems or whatnot, we decided upon a third or fourth photo, which we finalized and then presented on Facebook. It was also very warm within the room at that time. We had some problems with the lights and wearing the mask and the jacket made it extremely warm for the conditions while the photo was being taken. But in the end, it was a very fun photo and received very much praise, thanks to our Facebook friends within the comments and the likes that were given to us on Facebook. So that being the debate of the Munsters and the Addams Family, many people for years have said that that they like one over the other. Me personally, I always tended to like the Munsters more. Now, both shows are, as I said, competitors. With the scariness and the creepiness between them, the Addams Family and the Munsters. But I would say they're both unique in their own way. They're both very creative. And I'm a Munsters fan. Many people like the Addams Family and dislike the Munsters. But the Munsters and the Addams Family are both classic television and will remain. They're also available on DVD, so you can enjoy not only the Munsters, but all the characters along within the cast and everything that both shows have to offer. So this is our first television memorabilia item in this edition of Real Footage, and now moving on to some more classic TV memorabilia. In the early days of the cable TV network Nick at Night, they were very well known for their creativity and sometimes often bizarre ways of promoting classic television shows. Way different from what the channel is today. But this prop, our next item for the Mr. Ed TV show of the 1960s, is that of a Mr. Ed feed bag. Again, their uniqueness and creativity is what got my attention as a youngster to enjoy not only the network, but the shows that they were re-airing. They made reruns a new way of life. Other networks were using shows such as reruns as fillers, while Nick at Night was making a living on it while presenting them night after night. This hello out there from TV Land, Mr. Ed feed bag, was a prop that was used in the late 1980s and into the early 1990s to promote the Mr. Ed television series on Nick at Night. And it is only one of the props of the show that we have, besides a Nick at Night Mr. Ed glue bottle and a Nick at Night Mr. Ed coaster. So here is the Mr. Ed Nick at Night feed bag for all you Mr. Ed fans out there in television land. As the years went on, Nick at Night continued to add classic TV reruns to their lineup. This time, now airing in the early 2000s, the television show Coach joined the Nick at Night lineup, and to promote that show, an actual Wilson football was used with the Coach logo as well as alongside the Nick at Night logo from the early 2000s. The show, which featured Shelley Fabre, Craig T. Nelson, Jerry Van Dyke, and others, came to Nick at Night around 2002 and 2003 and was promoted with a Wilson football with the Nick at Night and Coach logo on it. Another unique idea and thing that makes Nick at Night so very special is the way they promoted their television series and cared for them. As I said earlier, they made them a way of life. While others were using them as fillers, Nick at Night was using them as a mainstream source of entertainment for its viewers each night. The Nick at Night Coach football. And now back with more television props in this edition of Real Footage. Time back in this series, we presented a segment on the science classic, Watch Mr. Wizard and Mr. Wizard's World. So this next item is that of an autograph from Mr. Wizard, which we received by mail back in November of 2006. Don Herbert originally created the science classic Watch Mr. Wizard in the 1950s and into the 1960s on the NBC television network, and then the show was revitalized by the Nickelodeon cable TV network in the 1980s for a newer generation of fans. We were able to receive this autograph through the mail, as I said, which says Mr. Wizard Don Herbert, and received by us in November of 2006. We have been big-time fans for the shows for many years, collecting his shows on DVD and faithfully watching it when it actually aired on Nickelodeon in reruns back in the 80s and into the 90s. So here is a look at the autograph that we received from him in 2006. The following year, in June of 2007, he passed away, but his legacy and his TV shows will continue on for fans everywhere. As they say, leaving the best for last, and we leave you with our final couple of pieces of television memorabilia. This happens to be a photo of when Dick Van Dyke of the classic television series, The Dick Van Dyke Show from the 1960s, this is when he was chairman of Nick at Night around the early to mid 1990s. It shows him seated here with what looks like it appears to be a room at Nick at Night Studios of that time, and this is just to verify our next upcoming item, which I'll show you in a few minutes here. Here's a picture of Dick Van Dyke as the chairman. And that leading up to this reserved parking sign here, which I purchased from an online auction site many years ago. Now, many people have asked me over the years, is this actually a legit sign? Is this authentic? And I would have to say yes, for many reasons, which I'll explain in a few moments. First of all, it says Reserved 150 Dick Van Dyke Chairman with the Nick at Night logo. There are a few things within this metal sign that tell me that it could have been authentic. The corners of the sign look to be as if they were attached to either some kind of a fence or wall through an extended period of time because of the way they are dented in. Also on the back, now it might be hard to pick up on camera, but there is actually a crisscross pattern on the back of this metal sign, which indicates to me that it was either affixed to some sort of a chain link fence or a wall at some point for an extended period of time. Maybe you could pick up on the pattern, but there seems to be some sort of crisscross pattern within that. I'm not sure if you're able to see it, but there it is right there. As well as what appears to be some sort of weather conditions on the corner. What looks to be like dirt or some kind of raindrops, which have dried up. So I would have to say that in order to go through a stunt to pull to make something that looked like it was real, you'd have to go through, I think, a lot of trouble. If not, I believe that this would have to be the real thing. And if it is, that meant that Dick Van Dyke himself pulled up in front of this sign in his own personal space when he was the chairman at Nick at Night in the 1990s. And if so, we have a piece of television history here. I always liked Dick Van Dyke, and his show is a classic and will be for years. It is considered one of the best television shows of all time by many. So thank you for joining us for this edition of Real Footage, the web video series, which takes you behind the scenes with Tim Davis inside Studio A. Today the show was all about television memorabilia. We enjoyed sharing items such as the Herman Munster mask, the Coach football, and this reserved Dick Van Dyke Chairman Nick at Night parking sign, among others. So until next time, questions, comments, or any sort of feedback is welcome within the YouTube or Facebook comment section. And until next time, and another episode and edition of Real Footage, this is Tim Davis saying goodbye, and we'll see you next time. Thank you for watching.